Today you've been talking about the regulatory framework as well as the geopolitical changes which may cause some sort of an impact in the shipping industry. What exactly do you foresee happening in the near future given those geopolitical changes?
Well, we can start with Europe. I think that the departure of Britain from the EU is going to bring big changes. It is definitely going to benefit the Greek shipping industry in ways that many people may not realize, because Greece has been a minority of one at the IMO in advocating positions for shipping. In other words, reasonable regulations, regulations that are not ridiculously expensive, and regulations, above all, that can be implemented. In other words, that are technologically feasible. Very often, laws, as you know, and regulations are made by lawyers. I happen to be a lawyer. Lawyers do not understand mechanical things mostly. Some do, but most don't. So the regulation comes before they realize we can't do this because we don't have the technology. Greece has the technology, ironically enough. Greece is the country that understands how ships actually work, but the rest of Europe and countries like the United States have lost that edge. If you want to talk about computers, yes, they know all about that, but not about ships. And the result is that with Britain leaving the EU, I think it will strengthen the dissenters. I think the British will find their voice again, the voice they once had, and will be very supportive of Greece, and therefore of the global shipping industry. I should explain that, for example, my registry, the one that I work for, my company, the Marshall Islands Ship Registry, which is the third largest in the world, the largest single segment of our fleet is Greek-owned. The largest single segment of the entire global fleet is Greek. Chinese is growing rapidly, but it's largely Greek-owned under various flags. The fact is that now we are in a position to actually argue the case of the shipping industry, not just the ship owner, but the seafarer, the people who work on these ships, more effectively. That's an amazing and very strange development that nobody anticipated, because nobody anticipated what we call Brexit.
So this is concerning the UK and foreseeable Brexit. What about the US? We've got a newly elected president, Donald Trump, who's got a very completely different view of mind.
It depends on what we are talking about. If we're talking about higher tariffs, are we talking about restraints on trade? Trump has talked a lot about that. Whether that will be possible under our system of government is doubtful, in my opinion. I think that things will continue more or less as they are. Something is going to have to be done to begin to rebuild. This is a very easy thing for me to say. It's not so easy to do. The U.S. flag merchant marine. If you were in there a minute ago, you heard several people in the audience talking about, and several one man on our panel, about how the Greek flag has been allowed to decline in recent years. And that's true. There are many things that can be done to reverse that process, or at least to stabilize it. The United States is down to 62 ships in the ocean-going U.S. flag merchant marine, which is amazing. It's ridiculous. Nearly all the tonnage is gone, except the tonnage that is coastwise or operates on inland waterways like the Mississippi and Ohio rivers. But historically, the U.S. flag has always come back whenever there was a war. It's a terrible thing to talk about. But they build ships and paint them gray for military purposes. I'm talking about cargo vessels. I'm not talking about military vessels, but what the Americans call auxiliaries. So I don't think Mr. Trump, the bottom line answer to your question is, he's not going to do very much. He has appointed a very competent person as our Minister of Transportation, and her name is Elaine Chao. Her family are Chinese Americans, and they own a lot of ships, all of them under foreign flag. So, and she used to be at the Citibank. She was the head of shipping for Citibank years ago. So there's someone there in the U.S. government now who really knows about shipping. And that's the first time that has happened. Greeks laugh about this, but it's the first time that has happened in American history, at least since World War II.
Now, I would just like to ask for your comment on Capital Link events. Your view on that?
Well, we're big supporters of Capital Link. My company is, I'm chairman of New York Maritime. We boost the maritime sector in New York, the greater New York area. We think Nick and Olga Bornozis have done a wonderful job, and they have managed to replicate this around the world, as you know. I missed the Cyprus conference, but I'm going to be in Shanghai with everybody. And as you know, there's a significant Chinese presence here in Greece now, which is very helpful. So I think they've done a tremendous job. I'm really delighted with it. It's a difficult business. If you watch these people, I don't know whether you're going to stay with the Capital Link. It's very, very demanding physically. It's really a job for younger people like yourself. It's not a job for someone like me, because you've got to be very, very fit. You've got to constantly work on putting conferences together. Travel, as you, I'm sure, realize, is a very, very taxing, difficult business nowadays.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's been a pleasure meeting you as well.